welcome back to the class, everyone. Are you tired of being told you need to gear Inquisitors despite the fact that they cost about 5,000 Kairos? Are you tired of people telling you that you need to work on your Galactic Legends despite the fact that you'll need to gear up about 18 useless characters? And are you tired of being told that you need all of these broken Conquest characters like Darth Bane despite the fact that running Conquest makes you want to pluck your eyes out? Well, do we have a solution for... Actually, I don't have any solutions for those problems, but we can talk about some characters who are really good, who don't require you to do all those things. So that really is going to be the theme for today's video, about going after the low-hanging fruit in the game, trying to find the intersection between really good characters and investments while at the same time not having to wait or use a massive amount of resources to get there. So starting off first is going to be the character who actually inspired this entire video, and that is going to be Mace Windu himself, who really embodies exactly what we're going for here. Not only is he a fantastic character with a really good kit, who is made to do several different things at the same time, like the fact that he has some really good support features where he can ability block and stun the enemy team, but in addition to that, he has a lot of good resources for being able to taunt or semi-taunt, and then on top of that, also be able to gain max health, so he's durable enough to take those hits. He is also able to reduce the enemy's max health, defense, and offense through his Shatterpoint ability, one of the cooler abilities in game that not only is good, but also matches what he does in lore. All that to say, fantastic character, lots of faction tags so that he can work in a variety of teams, but more importantly, why he's in this video isn't necessarily because he's good, it's because he is accessible. Right here on the very far left, we have Squad Arena Store, where you can buy 10 shards of him pretty much every single day, depending on where you are placing in Squad Arena, and he can be done in about a month or so. So many of the other great characters in game will take you 3 months of hard node farming, and that's if they're accelerated. It can go up to 6 months, or you start looking at some of these legendaries or Galactic Legends that can take upwards to a year. The fact that you can get him in about a month's time is incredible, and then the fact that he's an older character also means you're not going to have to run into Kyrotech before he hits gear 12, and there are just some other really nice things about him. I think he actually only needs 1 carb or stun cuff up until gear 11, which I don't really know how much we care about that, but it's probably worth mentioning just because he's such an easy character to get, and he does have quite a bit of value. I will say he does have 3 Zetas, and while I do like them, I don't really think you need them to start getting mileage out of him. So overall, great character, super low entry cost, and we're going to see a very similar theme with our good friend Nute Gunray. So very similar in the shard area, you get him from the Squad Arena Store, very cheap. Obviously you wouldn't be able to do him and Mace at the same time, pick one character and then work on him, but he has a very similar set of value where you're going to be able to use him in every single Separatist team that you ever get. In the very beginning of the game, if you're wanting to work on, say, Geonosians, they have 3 Cantina farms, which is okay, but one of the bad things about that is it means you can't farm Geonosian Brood Alpha and Spy and Soldier all at the same time, so it might be more beneficial for you to work on Spy and Soldier and then use Nute as a leadership, getting him from another source. And even once you graduate past that and you get Geonosian Brood Alpha, you can easily throw him into a General Grievous team as a 5th, and even if you want to build up that General Grievous team, he can do his own thing. His own leadership isn't half bad, or you can even throw him onto the Admiral Trench team much in the far later game once you do have a lot of those Conquest characters. But overall, his kit is really cool. One of the things that I like about him, especially using him on offense, is the enemy team was never briefed on how extortion works, so they will just let it spread like wildfire. And if you are using his leadership, that gives you so much speed. Separatist allies have 15% speed for each enemy with extortion. That's not 15 flat speed, that's 15%. And this will stack with every stack, or rather every character on the enemy team that has extortion. So you can get all the way up to about, what is that, 75, 30, 60, yeah, 75% speed just by the enemy team not understanding the mechanics of what Nute is doing. So overall, very good character, can be used among several teams, doesn't require Kyrotech, is in a store, awesome. Next up is going to be Boba Fett. I feel like most people actually already have Boba Fett farms. You really should have that already done. In fact, you really should have all of these characters done. In fact, that's going to be the title of the video. We just decided that. And it's because, again, very similar theme. You can find him in one of the shops for Cantina battles, and you might not be able to accumulate this as quickly if you're not doing Cantina refreshes, which a lot of you out there probably should be. But even if you can't, you can still get him at a fairly decent pace at 10 shards at least every other day. And then once you do get him, you see all these tags up here up top with Scoundrel, Hooker, Tail, Bounty Hunter. He's pretty much usable in all of those. And I actually don't. It's really not that good in the end game. But his leadership does do several things that can be tricky, especially to handle when you use him on defense or if using him as an offensive character. He's one of the easiest options to knocking out the Scoundrel credit heist mission that is really important early in the game. He's very helpful to get Chewbacca. He is actually required for some like Galactic Legends, but that's not really what this video is about. So overall, great character, accessible. Throw him in a Scoundrel team, throw him in a Bounty Hunter team, have a good time. Next up is going to be Kylo Ren Unmasked. And I think it's important that we mention him because I feel like he gets a bad rap as the First Order tank. And while that's true, he's a really good First Order tank or even unaligned Force user for Seer. But quite frankly, he has a lot of universal things that he just excels at, where he doesn't really care about who else is in the team. His unique really provides a lot of the leeway for that, where he is able to recover health on his own. He doesn't need a healer to be able to do that. In addition to that, he's also immune to max health damage and can start taunting the very first turn. So you don't have to have all these outside mechanisms like a different leadership or a support character for him to really be able to function as a good tank. He already has it built into his kit. And then again, as far as accessibility goes, very much accessible. He is on a 10 energy Cantina node, is accelerated. I really would prefer you do this rather than the hard node, purely because you're giving up on a lot of shards of the TIE Silencer if you do not. But even, I guess that's a little bit in vain because you're not going to be able to get this at the same rate you get crew just because ships aren't accelerated still for some reason. Anyways, crew, great character, accessible, doesn't need Kyrotex before gear 12. Awesome. Moving on. Next up, we have Iden Verso and Stormtrooper. So we've been talking a lot about characters who don't need Kyrotech, and Iden Verso, you're probably asking me right now, Calvin, she needs Kyrotech. Wrong. Kind of. She does need Kyrotech to be geared up. The issue is, or really the benefiting thing is, you don't really have to have her geared up at all. If you're using her in her leadership spot, which you generally should be, and giving her a team that she wants, like Stormtrooper or Death Trooper or whoever, she can stay at like gear 7 or gear 8, and it doesn't really matter because she will just keep reviving, and she can bank on the rest of her team doing all of the work for her. So while she, again, very accessible, you don't need the Kyrotex on her. You can get her from this node right here, get a free droid ship at the same time. Pretty cool. Cheap node, accelerated, don't have to gear her up. And then in addition to that, we can throw in Stormtrooper, who again is on a store, so even more accessible. And then he himself, again, is an older character, so to gear him up, get him up to gear 12, and have him essentially be a wall of Stormtroopers guarding Iden Verso is really easy, because for Iden to die, he has to die, assuming your enemy doesn't have permakills or anything like that. So overall, great combo. Pretty easy to put together, a team that most people should have. The biggest caveat with this one is if you're not that interested in GAC, it's probably not worth your time because that's where they're mostly going to shine given the GAC Omicron. Next up is going to be Ahsoka. She is going to fit a very similar role to that of Mace, not just because she has most of the same tags, but because those tags are very useful, and whether you throw her into a random Jedi team, a random Galactic Republic team, or quite frankly, even like a Shock 501st team or a Gas 501st team, she just does really well. She's arguably the ideal fifth for a lot of the Galactic Republic and Jedi squads out there, most notably Qui-Gon Jinn, Padme, not terribly bad with the 501st. I think the biggest advantage of using her with the 501st is you don't have to actually go out of your way to farm Arc, even though he is superior for that team overall. And once again, she is in the Cantina Battle store. I realize we're highlighting that a lot, but it's just such an easy way to get characters, much easier than going after them on a hard node, and ultimately just kind of free currency that you're already going to build up anyways just because of what you were doing in game on a daily basis. Again, overall great kit. She has a lot of stat boosting that is going on here. Her assisting at turn with the Galactic Republic leader, and then cleansing and dispelling, doing overall just lots of great things. For the admission price to be able to get her, she's awesome. And last but not least are going to be the clones. This is pretty cool. I I am a pretty big prequel fan and slash Clone Wars fan. You could probably tell that actually this list was almost entirely characters who appeared in the Clone Wars. Anyways, I love this overall. Number one, because this is already a team within itself. Obviously, as you progress in your roster, you will eventually get General Skywalker, who will kind of blow them out of the water. But even before you get him, you can totally use Rex's lead that's somewhat decent. And then the rest of the characters on this team, they all fit the same concept of no Kyrotechs, all accelerated, and they're all in stores. Again, guild store for Commander Rex as well as Echo, and then Fives himself, you can find him in, I believe, the squad or Cantina battles again. All right, so we might have to space out our Cantina battles characters a little bit, but we should be building the teams around these characters as we go. And again, I didn't want to talk about them up front because they're not as universally used in teams as, say, characters like Mace or Nute, who can be put in about 4 different homes and do well. They really have to be stuck together. You're either using Rex lead, Shock lead, or Gas lead, but even beyond that, the team is pretty much the same when it comes to overall functionality. You're not getting to build 4 or 5 different teams that they can be able to fit into. But again, very much low-hanging fruit, good characters who are able to do a lot of good things, who really aren't that expensive to get into, assuming you're not going to, relic them up all the way to the top to be able to go after Lord Vader or whatever it is. So that is going to be the video for today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what else you think about a low-hanging fruit out there in the game. Until next time, stay awesome.